What is up, YouTube? If you're tired of hearing about Harry's wife bang on about how oppressed she is, or listening to the mainstream media's obsession with Boris's curtains, take a load off, come in, crack open a beer, grab yourself a cup of tea, whatever. Have a look at this new offering, not new, new to me, offering from Kizer. So obviously it's another slip joint, getting into my modern slip joints at the moment, and it is the Kizer zipslip. It's G10 handle, Bowler N690 blade steel, which is a step up from what I was using before, which was the CRKT pilot. And I thought I'll treat myself. It's obviously more expensive, twice the price in fact, but I'll see what difference the blade steel makes. Actually, this is a lovely knife. Must admit I was a bit disappointed when I first got it. In the pictures it looked like it had the Kizer pinwheel for the pivot point, which on this flat block of colour looked really nice in my mind. When it arrived it was actually T8 both sides. Whether I just didn't look at the pictures properly or whether it was a picture of an older one. I know they changed over on some knives, I don't know. But anyway, I'm over that now. I do like it. I love this G10. It's different from the normal texture you get on most G10 knives. It's almost got like wood grain in it, but it's flat, so classy looking little knife. I like the colour with the acid wash blade, that blade shape, drop point design, plenty of blade stock. And you've got the designer's name on the top of the blade, if it will focus. Get it to focus. You'll have to take my word for it. It does say Vagnino on the top, affectionately named Slippy Vag. I say it's got quite decent stock to the blade. It's flat ground, kind of halfway up the blade. But you could put this to harder use than some of the other more budget slip joints around the £30–35 mark. Pilar being the exception. It's got a very thick blade. But that acid etching on the blade goes all the way along the back spring even. And obviously you can see it's got steel liners, which does help to give it a decent weight, feeling of solidity. If the CRKT pilot was great in the hand, which it is, I love that finger choil, it's a 4-finger knife. This is even better. It's slightly longer in the handle anyway, but what makes it much better is this choil. You have this bit that sticks out here, so no matter how hard you push, you cannot close that blade on your finger, because that hits your finger first. On something like the Pilar, the choil goes right up to the edge of the blade, so although it won't cut you, it's not particularly comfortable if you've got wider fingers like me. This very ergonomic knife, 4 fingers and more, decent size blade, you can really choke up on it. Very nice. The other thing that disappointed me when I first got it, obviously I bought this, spent a little bit more in order to get the upgrade in blade steel. What it did, it was sharp. It would cut paper when it arrived. It wasn't as sharp as the Pilar or the real steels that I'd had beforehand, but I think that's just an issue with the sharpening process from the factory, because once I put it on the workshop, it is now razor sharp. I know everyone says that, but it is actually shaving sharp and seems to be holding an edge very well. Nice plain pocket clip, it's deep carry, so it does disappear in your pocket. The screws, they're not recessed, but they don't stick out. I've not had any issue with that snagging on clothing or anything like that. It does sit low in the pocket, a very good EDC knife for obviously our restrictions in our country. I tend to carry that as a main blade and then maybe a traditional as a backup. But it has a quality feel about it, this. But the party piece for the zipslip is the action. So the designers came up with a new way of working the back spring. You'll notice when you close the blade, it does have a half stop. The back spring doesn't move at all. It all happens internally. And listen to that action. It's got this lovely metallic clink at half stop and when you close it. I don't know of any other modern slip joint that does that. I do love that. I'd like to see it, hear it more on other knives. Size comparison wise, as I say, probably the most similar that I have in my collection would be the Pilar, slightly shorter overall, well, a fair bit shorter, and obviously the cutting length is shorter, blade is much shorter, but they're similar in terms of build. The 91mm Swiss Army knife. In terms of cutting edge, you're probably not that far off. That gives you some idea. And real steel, Lunar light. It's a little bit bigger than that as well. It's probably about as big as you're going to get modern slip joints that in this country. Get a little bit more cutting edge wise, but in terms of the size, overall size of the knife, it's about as big as you're getting EDC over here. Overall, really pleased with this. Up until yesterday, it was my favourite modern slip joint. Had something very special arrive yesterday. I treated myself, but I'll save that for another video. If you're thinking about getting one, I would say go for it. I love that, just on that action alone. It's got a real quality feel about it. It's a good, strong, everyday knife. Looks great. Looks a bit more special than the price, really, I suppose. Looks like it cost more than it actually did. If you're thinking about it, I would say go out and get one. You won't regret it. Hope that's of use to somebody. Ta-ta.